In this IR4M, I talked to Dr. Joel Campbell of Troy University about the significance of Xi Jinping getting an unprecedented third term as president of China.
Well, Xi Jinping is the most powerful leader China has had since Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was the most powerful leader in modern China because he was one of the founders, literally one of the founders of the Communist Party in China. He's the man who led the Communist Party through the Civil War, two civil wars in the 1920s and in the 1940s. He's the man who was the chairman, the only person, well, I have one other, but basically the only person up to 1976 who was the chairman of the party. He was the revolution. He was everything. Now this guy, Xi Jinping, comes along, and he's the most powerful person since then. Also, he's changing the norm that had been established back in the 90s, which you can only have two terms in the top positions, and then you're gone. So it was basically term limits. And everybody accepted that norm and thought it was a good thing to limit power. Now Xi Jinping is saying, I'm going to stay in power for a third term and potentially for life. So that's a big thing, and because that's so very similar to Putin, he could be in there potentially until the 2030s. And he could be a very old guy. He's now pushing 70, but he could be in power into his 80s. And he's going to put a very big stamp on China. Also, what's very important about Xi Jinping is that he wants to make China the leading power in the world. That is really his agenda. He has a number of things he's working on. First, what he calls the Great Rejuvenation of China. That is, basically, he wants China to be restored to its traditional role in East Asia as being the center power. In fact, the name of the country in Chinese is Zhongguo, which means middle country, or it's often translated into English as Middle Kingdom. But it was this island of civilization surrounded by barbarians traditionally, and so it was the hegemonic power. It was the center of civilization in East Asia. That's what he wants to return China to be, is the main power in East Asia, and by extension, it'll be the main power in the world, because China is extending its influence through such things as the kind of neo-colonialism it's doing in Africa, and through this Belt and Road Initiative that it's been working on, which is the biggest infrastructure project probably in human history. It's a string of projects across Central Asia all the way to Europe, and then through the Indian Ocean all the way to the Middle East and East Africa. And what it does, it binds those countries to China so that it all relates back to China. So and whenever there's a big project like that in human history, like, for example, the Marshall Plan back in the 1940s, but countries don't do this stuff out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it for their own interests. In the case of China's Belt and Road Initiative, it's to create dependence of all those countries in Central Asia all the way to Eastern Europe, and then through the Indian Ocean to Africa. He also wants to create China as a model for the rest of the world, his brand of authoritarianism. And this is where I think there's a real danger to the world, is China is showing an authoritarian future to the world in which the Communist Party, in the case of China, controls all aspects of social interaction within a society. And the real danger is that kind of system could be extended to the rest of the world.
I want to thank Dr. Campbell for joining us. We will have more from him, especially about his book, Politics Go to the Movie, in coming weeks, as well as more from our other faculty members at Troy.